Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this one, I'm going to be going over a handful of players from a couple of teams at a time. Uh, so this one's only going to be two teams, and then there's going to be probably another seven, eight other videos with a couple of teams at a time. Yeah, picking out a handful of players of interest, ones that probably could be a good buy, and the ones I would avoid. So for the first one, I've gone with Broncos and my team, the Dolphins. So first off, the Broncos. So Payne Haas was the top averaging player at the Broncos in 2024, 68.4. So basically, he'll give you that pretty much. That's pretty much what he's going to give you week in, week out. So someone that'll be solid for you every week. You're losing for a couple of games during Origin, obviously, as you probably would with any of the top players in the game. So if you want Payne Haas, I wouldn't push back on it realistically because he'll be in the top two, if not number one, yeah, for the year. So then the next player I picked out, obviously, is another one of their best players. Obviously, is Pat Carrigan, available at 2RF though. Would be better if he was actually available or dual if it was dual for FRF because he basically will give you very similar to Haas in reality, even though he may be 1 or 2 points below or something like that most weeks. Um, Averaged 65.6, so he was just under 3 points below Payne Haas for last year. Yeah, be solid week in, week out, good base. It's pretty much nearly match Payne Haas most weeks. Well, he may be a couple of points below, but he'll be close. Um, so after Carrigan, Walsh. So Reece Walsh averaged 75.4 in 14 games in 2024. Um, Surprisingly, the year before when Broncos made the grand final, he actually only averaged 79.6, which was only 4 points more per game. So whether the Broncos go really good or whether they don't, you're pretty much nearly getting the same out of Walsh, regardless. Tends to make a lot of errors. The only things, yeah, tends to make a lot of errors. But he's one of those guys. He goes for absolutely everything. Wants to be involved with a lot. Can score tries, set up tries. Um, doesn't goal kick though, only unless Reynolds isn't on the field or Staggs isn't on the field, pretty much. Yeah, I probably wouldn't put him in the top handful of fullbacks, obviously, because you'll have your Turbos, the Trolls. Teddy might be down a little bit on last year. Drinkwater, Ponga, even Pappy. I'd probably have most of those guys probably ahead of Walsh, in my opinion. Um, but he probably still score pretty well for you anyway. Like he wouldn't be too far behind any of those guys. Even probably wouldn't surprise me if he scores more than them on several weeks. Another player I find a little bit interesting is probably Solomon Cobbo if Madge puts him back on the wing like he was in I think he was there in 23 instead of being at the centre. Just with more runs of the ball from the kick returns, stuff like that. The only knock on that probably if they put him back out there, if he's outside Stags, they were probably caught out in defence quite a bit, but they tended to. I know they got away with it a fair bit anyway. They seem to be able to scramble and cover it anyway. Um, but he could be I don't know, someone interesting if he goes back on the wing instead of at centre like he has been. Uh, Blake Moser, yeah, if he gets more minutes, could be handy. Might make a little bit of coin, probably not a lot. Um, if he only ends up playing the similar minutes, like that 30 odd minutes, like he averaged in the games that he did play last year, probably some trap vibes there. Uh, yeah, he wouldn't probably not a good pick unless he plays maybe 50 plus minutes, 50 to 60 instead of the 30 to 40, because he's already priced at what 30 odd points anyway. So yeah, if it was me, I probably wouldn't go there realistically. And Ben Hunt's probably another one for me that I'll probably avoid. Even though when he was at the Dragons last year, he was actually the leading try assist, but playing at 7 also. He's probably going to end up playing second fiddle to Reynolds when it comes to running the team. Yeah, probably might even steal points from Walsh and other guys like that when it comes to try assists and so on. Yeah, it's not too keen on him really. All right, moving on to Dolphins. So top of the list, Herbie Farnworth. Yeah, an absolute gun. So in 2024, even though Dolphins finished in 10th position on the ladder, Supercoach wise, Herbie actually went up to 74.4 points per game from the 62 points he averaged in 2023 in a team that made the grand final in that season. So even though he wasn't part of a team that went as well as the previous season, he himself individually, like I suppose, as well as individually as well as in Supercoach wise, he actually improved quite a bit. Although it's probably helped his average at the end of the season was probably helped by the big 170 odd against the Broncos as well, which was a great watch to be honest with you as a Dolphins fan. After Herbie, I've written Hammer. So he averaged 66.8 points per game in the games that he played. Did play a handful of games at centre because Trey Fuller played a number of games at fullback. Both when Hammer was out injured, well, he was basically out injured in all the games that he missed, basically, as well as during the Origin period. So Trey Fuller was playing in place of him, and then when he came back into the side, he played centre, and then late in the season. Late in the season, Trey Fuller did his ACL actually playing Q Cup. But then, so some of his games he played at centre, some of his games he played at fullback last season. He still lifted his average from the 59, I think it was, from the year before, where he did actually play a handful of games at centre towards the back end of that season previously as well. For me, I'd probably avoid Hammer, even though as much as I love him as a player, I'd avoid him in the fullback position. He's fullback only for next season in Supercoach. He's not dual centre wing like he has been in previous seasons, which takes away that value. Basically, he's more valuable, I suppose, if he's available in the centre wing spot. So for me, I'd avoid him as much as I love him as a player. Next one on my list is Max Plath. A lot of people I've seen in team reveals and stuff like that, they've been saying, they've picked him as one of their hookers, if not their main hooker even. And there's been the odd one in the 2RF. For the hooker position, for me, I'd probably pick another guy I've got on the list below him, in JMK or Jeremy Marshall King, just because I see next season at the Finns that with the return of Tom Gilbert, who is also on the list, is my other last player on the list actually, who's available in 2RF. I see Tommy Gilbert actually starting in the lock position for the Dolphins, with Plath actually coming off the bench at 14. I see a world where Gilbert starts at 13 for the first 20-25 minutes, and then Plath comes on off the bench, plays lock basically the rest of the game, potentially if JMK needs or if Marshall King needs a rest a hooker for say 10 minutes or so while Platt's on the field, he can switch to hooker, and then if Gilbert's back on the field, because Gilbert will probably come back on the field and play in the prop position, and then if at any stage if JMK needs a rest, then obviously Gilbert would move back into the 13 spot, and Platt would move into the 9, and so on, and then probably in the last little bit, if JMK does go off at any stage, he'll probably come on for the last little bit, and then you'll see probably Tom Gilbert probably off again. Yeah, so that's basically what I see. I see Plath basically playing like 55 to 60 minutes once he comes on the field. JMK, for me, he's probably the first guy that I'm picking at hooker for my team. Not only because he plays for my team that I support, obviously, but because he's a little bit underpriced, in my opinion. Before he had that injury in the back end of last year, he averaged 63 at the time. He was averaging 63 at the time, and then those last few games at the end of the year when he came back, he came off the bench and played less minutes, which dropped his average down to 56. So he's potentially like 7 points below what he should probably be. And then if he stays fit, he'll score around the 65 probably for the year. That's a world that I see, because he averaged in the mid 60s the previous season as well, and he actually would have averaged higher than that again if he wasn't injured with his shoulder at the end of 2023 as well. And there'll be stages throughout the year where, for the season, I see JMK averaging probably 70 plus minutes a game throughout the whole year. Like, he'll have games where he might have a rest for 10 or 15 minutes, and then there'll be a block of games throughout the year where he'll play the full 80, and then you'll have like Gilbert and Plath will be splitting minutes, and plus sharing minutes throughout all the other middle forwards as well. So that's what I see happening with that. Like at hooker, JMK will play 70, 80 minutes most weeks, as long as he stays fit. So then Tommy Gilbert was the last one I was going to mention. So he's 462k. He missed all of the 2024 season. Sorry, he missed the back end of the 2023 season as well. The games he did play in 2023 up until when he did his shoulder, playing Origin in game 1 of 2023, he averaged 59 points per game. So going by that, he is a little bit underpriced at that, even if he does end up playing, say, the 50 minutes or so in the middle, like starting at lock and then playing prop. He probably is still, underpriced, but probably a no for me, because I see probably in the back row there, I see Feni Fuiaki, who I actually should have mentioned as well. I see him starting on one edge, and then on the other edge there'll be Connolly Lemuelu, as long as he's racing to be fit for round 1 as well. With, I think he had a shoulder or a knee. Pretty sure it's actually his knee he had cleaned out over the off season. But I see those two guys being the actual edge forwards for the year, or the back rollers. So then I see Gilbert at 13 and all that. So anyway, that'll be it for this video. Remember, if you're liking these videos, to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.